Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm thrilled to welcome you to First Night, the virtual book launch of my debut collection, Scarlet Yearnings, Stories of Love and Desire. I'm so excited that you're here with me tonight. Whether you're tuning in from near or far, thank you. Thank you for being part of this special moment. Tonight is a unique celebration of love and longing and connection, themes you will find throughout the stories in this collection. Before we dive into the fun, permit me to take a moment to thank my hubby, DJ So, my young men, King Zach and June, all of my family, friends, supporters. This journey has been incredible, and I couldn't have done it without you and your encouragement every step of the way. So grab your preferred beverage, get comfy. I've got mine. And please tune in with me to Scarlet Yearnings. So, I've got some exciting things planned for today. We have some live readings, we have some special guests, and even a giveaway of a free autographed copy of Scarlet Yearnings. So, stay tuned for that. But before I forget, the book and Kindle versions are available to order right now. It's live. Go to www.scarletibisjames.com. And as we enter this evening, the amazing Jasmine Kirkwood will narrate the audiobook. It's coming soon on Audible. And as a special gift for joining me today, here's her beautiful performance of the book's foreword.
Forward. Love has always been the language I wanted to learn, but the one I speak the least fluently. I trace this back to a time when I was just a child who was never claimed by a father, whose mother gave her away. There has always been a space within me, vast and yearning, that longs to be desired, to be claimed, to be drenched in love from head to toe. I sought every book by the romantic fiction publishing houses of Harlequin and Mills and Boone. Later, I found myself addicted to Hallmark movies and K-dramas. I loved love. Consuming those love stories has always been my way of filling that void and soothing the aching desire for what was never mine. I've poured that longing into 12 stories in this collection of stories. Each one is a testament to the kind of love I have sought and continue to pursue. But within each tale, you will also find an unsatisfied yearning, a reflection, perhaps, of the longing that still resides in me. These stories are not just narratives. They are pieces of my soul, fragments of my deepest desires. As you turn these pages, I hope you find something within these stories that resonates with your own heart. Perhaps in reading them, you'll claim a piece of the love I have always sought. And in doing so, you'll help me find the acceptance I've longed for. This collection is as much a gift to you as it is a journey of reclaiming my desires. May these stories touch you, stir you, and perhaps even leave you with a lingering sense of longing, just as they have for me.
All right. So I hope everybody loved that reading. It's from the foreword of the book. I wanted to tell you a little bit about me. Not everyone on the call really knows about me today. So I wanted to share a little bit about me and then do a reading. So I'm Scarlet Ibis James. I'm a joy-filled storyteller, perhaps with the soul of a modern-day griot, Those were the African storytellers that handed down stories and was a way of making sure that histories were carried on. And I'm carrying on the mission of my ancestors to really share stories that connect us all. While I write with passion and curiosity about love and longing and desire, I also hold a very pragmatic view of the world, understanding that the human experience is both beautiful and complex. I was born in Trinidad. My roots infuse my work with a cultural richness, and my goal is to really help my readers see other people, every person, as human and not as other. Through storytelling, I hope to remind readers that experiences, love, and desire connect us. We are one body throughout the world, connected by our emotions. My debut collection, Scarlet Yearnings, is a reflection of this mission of mine, combining joy and realism and the shared emotions that bind us all. I desire that you receive this offering of mine as well. I'd like to read for you now. If you'd like that too, why don't you type in the chat for me, read for me, Scarlet. I want to see, do you want me to read for you tonight? I don't know. I'm not seeing anything, June. I don't think they really want me to read for them tonight. What do you think? I'm not seeing anybody put it in. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. Tangible Truths has said it. Therefore, I shall. So, permit me to read. This is one of my stories that you'll be hearing about tonight. You're going to hear about 3 stories tonight, but this is the first one. It's called Love Me, Daddy. I saw him from my perch on the tall stool in the Harlem coffee shop. Gazing through the immense age-stained window, I overlooked the wide sidewalk of the busy intersection. The tall, lanky man with dirty blonde hair, wearing a jet black long coat, glided into view. My eyes snagged on him, pupils involuntarily widening to take in his imposing figure. Are you the healing balm I need? I wondered. The ache of my recent breakup was still fresh, yet with a primal urgency, my body and mind were already restless, searching for new connections. I felt like it was a basic instinct, a desperate need to fill the void left behind. My best friend would say I had daddy issues. Yeah, I'd say so too. Daddy wasn't just my father, he was my biggest cheerleader. Whenever I doubted myself, whether it was nailing that piano audition or starting my own business, he'd ruffle my locks and say, "You've got this, princess. You always do." Even now, 5 years after he passed away, when I face a tough decision, I can practically hear his ghost voice in my head. That gruff but gentle encouragement pushed me forward. I miss him. In my mind's eye, I could see my father. He loved wearing black wool coats. He had about 5 of them, hanging in a neat row in his closet like silent sentinels. I never knew where he got them all or why he needed so many, but they seemed to hold a piece of him, a secret story woven into the thick black fabric. The scratch of the wool against my cheek as he hugged me goodbye is a feeling I still recall. He would smile, that bright white smile framed by thick black cigarette-stained lips. Ingrown hair leathered his rough cheeks. He was dark-skinned from head to toe, his salt and pepper curls crowned by that unruly mane of hair. Every inch of his frame spoke of a life spent working hard, selling door to door for that insurance company. It was a sacrifice made with love for a family he cherished, more than any raise or promotion. But this man passing by me now was nothing like my daddy. He was what my father would avoid: professional, obviously affluent, overly waspy, and unapologetically white. Why are you looking at that white boy? My father's voice in my head made me blink and look away. Still, I wondered why that man caught my attention. What do you think? Let me know. So, we're going into the question and answer section of our evening. And so I want to be able to give you an interlude of sorts, recognizing that among us there may be people who might need a time to really pause and think about what their questions are, but enter all your questions into the chat while my Master of Ceremonies June plays a video for us as with images from the book, as envision them. Go ahead, June. Okay, did Roz join us, June? Awesome. Okay, so I wanted to invite onto the stage with me today my very good friend, Roz White. We worked together over many years when I was at the Hartford, and she is my very dear author friend, and also from the Caribbean. Roz, why don't you join me on the stage?
Hi, and so sorry if you're hearing a little bit of noise, but I am on vacation in Grenada.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I'll hand it
and
over to you, Roz. This is your section of
and,
the.
and this is their time to play something. So I am not entertaining myself with music and gyration, but I'm here with you.
Thank
So
you.
it's great because I love the topic that you're doing, romance. As you know, I did a children's book, but I'm also, my second personality is erotic writing that I'm working on. And so my question to you is, why romance?
Why romance? So I would say, Roz, that I love love. As you might have heard from the forward, I just have always wanted, and I've found my great love, but I've always wanted and desired love for folks. But I think that my books may not be completely romance, and the stories that I write may not be the hallmark type of romance. So it's not necessarily the happy ever after, and it may not be the one true love that you've always met and your eyes locked and everything.
Hmm.
I approach romance with a very pragmatic view, knowing that we're all a little bit complicated. And so I love the joy and bliss that comes with romance. And I
Definitely.
think you can find it even if it's slightly imperfect.
Great, great. I have one more question that I want to ask. And as a writer, I feel that each one of us have a story, and we have many different stories because, like you said, we're all complex and we have different perspectives on different things. What advice can you give to new writers, or even aspiring writers, or people who feel, I have a story but I don't know how to tell it?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I was speaking to one of my very good friends this past week, Franca, who's on the call today, and we talked about this. And also somebody who's coming up in the agenda later, Courtney. And both of them have stories to tell. And I think all of us have stories to tell.
We do.
I would say to start and start in a place where you can share it. Um, Consider a pen name if you don't want to share it outright or have it connected to you right away. I think that having starting small and perhaps doing it a little incognito in a place like Medium where I started, and I found a really amazing support group. So many of my fellow writers are on the call today from Medium and are so supportive of me. But I would say start, because I firmly believe, Roz, that the story that each of us has to tell is really in the service of someone else. Your experience in your life and your lived experience will absolutely touch and move and cause positive change in somebody else's life. And don't hold on to it. Let it out. Let it out. And I think the if you find that supportive network, let it out there. I would strongly support Medium. I also write on Substack. I know that a lot of my fellow writers have also found success in Wattpad. There's so many outlets. Start small, whether it's poetry or fiction or nonfiction. Lots of my folks are very much into nonfiction as well. But get it out, get your story out. Just start, just do it, jump in. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think, June, we were going to get some questions from the chat. Roz, did you want to pick the first one from the chat?
Um, let's see. What's the question? Um, let's go with a question. So,
Let's.
do you plan to take these stories to the stage?
Oh dear. Okay.
And
All
that's
right.
from
So Melanie was one of my early readers. Thank you, Melanie. And she gave me a review on Goodreads, which I completely love and appreciate. As you get into my book and you read my book, please, I would love for you to also do the same on Amazon and Goodreads. Um, well, you planted the seed, Melanie. So yeah, I think you planted the seed. So let's discuss. I don't take anything out of the realm of possibility. So let's make it happen, Melanie. You know how I am. This is how. So Melanie is also someone I work with. When we work together, if you suggest something, then it becomes your job to help me do it. What else? Do we have another question?
I have a one that are there many interracial love stories written by Black authors these days? Does that help distinguish your story?
Ooh, very interesting. So interestingly enough, I some of my favorite authors are Black authors who write about interracial romance. I think that um, it is a very um, lucrative field. I don't necessarily only write about interracial romances, but a lot of my favorite writers do. So folks like Theodora Taylor, I love. I'm reading one right now by Talia Hibbert, is also a really amazing writer as well. And she does write a lot. I would say that there's a market for it, just like there's a market for, writing about couples and love interests of different sexual persuasions, or even this, the same and very much the same. But I don't think it distinguishes me. And I definitely have a mix of characters in my book.
Mhm.
Um, but it includes interracial relationships as well. I think at the bottom of it, we're all human. All right. Is this the last one?
Well, yes.
Tangible truths. So, yes. That's it. Yes. Oh, the Williams family. Oh, from Connecticut. Hey, oh, what inspired you to write a book about, and what their particular moment experiences were? Um, when I started writing, I don't think that so the way that these stories came together, it was many, many stories that I wrote on Medium and Substack that I pulled together, and they all had the theme of romance. Um, I think that I know about romance very much. I think I've been in a long-standing romance with hubby. We've been married 31 years, and I've experienced and seen and know from a lot of my networks about romance. But I love writing about it. But I think, again, I think I've always loved romance. So nothing in particular, but it was most of my stories. I think my person is telling me that I need to come off now. Oh, we're going on to the next thing? Okay.
Okay.
All right. Roz, thank you very much for hosting
And
this segment
bye from very hot Grenada.
from Very Hot Grenada. Enjoy the rest of your vacation. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. I think we're going to move on to I selected a few of my favorite people to read certain segments of my book and come and talk about this individual stories that they wrote about. And so the first one that's up to chat with me today is Barb Hughes. Barb and I go way back as well. So welcome, Barb, to the stage. And why don't you tell us a little bit about the story that you wrote, that you read, and you can ask me anything.
Well, let me first of all start out by saying that I had read the story that you asked me to review, and I read it, and it touched me, and it stirred me, and then I read your foreword just today, and that sort of connected the dots for me, because it really, I just, after reading the foreword, knowing how personal this is to you, one word came to mind: brave. I think you just really, really put yourself out there. And that to me is like, and you talked earlier about other people getting out there and just writing their stories. I just think it's incredibly brave. And I am just so impressed by the chapter that I read. It was, I don't know. I don't know if you're familiar with Barbara Kingsolver, but I love her work. Her most recent book is she has a lot of bestsellers, but Demon Copperhead. And I mean, her turning of phrases left me breathless. And I probably wrote down all these things that you wrote that, and I'll just for the group, I'll just kind of do one of them.
Tell them the story you read first.
Okay, the story I read was Love, Mystical, and Destined. And of course, you assigned the longest one to me.
It is the longest one.
It was really long. It was like 30 pages long. But so that was, I think it might be the last one, the last chapter.
It is.
So, and it started out going down one direction, which was basically just like one of your Hallmark movies. Like, who hasn't been on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook or at a college alumni site, and all of a sudden you run across somebody from your past and you're like, oh, let me see if I can, so it starts out like that and you're thinking, okay. And then you stop and you think, yeah, that happened to me once, so you're going down that little trip and then the story goes, and it makes a hard right. Totally took me by surprise, because then it turned into a mystical, magical journey that was otherworldly. Okay. And that I'm, with another mutual friend of ours, are very interested in the spiritual world that's not necessarily here. And
I did not know that.
The two guardians that were mentioned about celestial beings, that was sort of something have expressed interest in and looked into a little bit. So that really kind of resonated with me. And then the story goes on from there, where this person from her past starts out as, oh, maybe, maybe we can start something up, to it turned very, very, I want to say dark at times, definitely a nightmares coming thing, meeting up with him, backing away from it and going, oh, this is not what I signed up for. But then having a very powerful current where, like you said, you're very pragmatic, more grounded in choices. Like, I can make reasonable choices, but this pull that she feels, that just throws that right out, because it's an undercurrent that just pulls her in to the point where she doesn't have a choice. And that's as far as I'm going to go, because I don't want to ruin the story for everybody. But it literally, started it on a Sunday, was reading it, and the next thing I know, my daughter's outside beeping her horn, going, trust me, like, we're here. And I'm like, oh God, and I wanted to finish it, but you assigned me 30 pages.
So now we've got to get you the book. But like, what questions came up for you? Like, what?
Okay. So one of the questions, one of the first ones that really came up even before I read your foreword is, are you, what's her name? Zendaya? How do you pronounce her name?
Senzata.
Zendaya yes. Is the actor. Sorry about that. Senzata. I was reading that and I'm like, I think this is her.
Me. Okay. So your question is it me that I'm writing about? So, a little bit. So the thing about it is, I take things from my experience and then I add a whole lot of things in. So this story that Barb chose to read, because I did give her a choice, not so much for Courtney, but for Darsh, for Barb, I gave you a choice. But what I would say is, when I was growing up, I had a pen pal. My pen pal was actually from Poland. And so that's the first piece. The second piece is, I read a book by Kelsey Kilby Blades. And it was about a pen pal, but it was like an adult woman writing to someone in Italy. And it reminded me that I had a pen pal. And then the third piece is, so it was, I had a pen pal, didn't remember that until I was reading this book. And then I remembered that. But then the third part of it is, I think my grandmother cut me off. I think that I was getting to that age where I was like 13 or 14, and then suddenly there were no more letters. And so that was the concept where it was birthed. The rest of it is totally wild imagination. And this is one of the things where writing on a platform like Medium is great, because they give you these prompts that just take you out of your comfort zone. Otherworldly is not my comfort zone, but I definitely had a lot of fun responding to a prompt that was related to, and I think Susie Moore from Scriber's Nook was the one who, was it that story? No, I think it's a different story. It was a different one. I think it was from the Fiction Writers Den that they had this, and maybe Brandon writes, did it where it was, you had to give this otherworldly. And so I was just stretching myself, taking myself out to another level to try to express a love in that. But it was grounded in some reality, but not all of it.
Okay. All right. The other question I had was, what really made me think, and I'm sure it was intentional, but I'm hoping you could talk a little bit about it. At the beginning of it, it talks about, in the very beginning, it talks about how, what if she and Alex had a great love story, kept apart, then surprisingly reunited, like in one of the Hallmark romantic comedies she adored. That was ew. Yeah. But then at the end, what really made me literally stop and think was some things that her mother had hidden some of these letters from her pen pal that just, it kind of dropped off and she never knew why. And then, but eventually it came full circle. And basically it came down to safety had come at a cost of magical moments, otherworldly connections, quietly extinguished. Inadvertently shut the door on something extraordinary. How often the mundane and practical smothers the spark of something genuine. And that really hit home, because we automatically do that with the ones we love. Is inadvertently, are we putting a bushel basket over something that we might not understand and might be a little risky or whatever. So could you talk a little bit about, like, because it was at the beginning and then it was way at the end. So there was a great arc there. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I can. So, one of the things that comes out in most of my writing are probably concepts that I do think deeply about, and one of them is a parenthood and how we want for our children what we think is the best bet for their lives, and that definitely came out in this one. Um, I think at the time, I feel like there's a divine order to things. And so this was one of them where at the time when I was writing this, I think I was involved just in some conversations with another friend of mine who was wanting their child to make certain choices. And I am just a firm believer that sometimes we need to tune into what our children are telling us they want. That sometimes, and I think also related to it, one of the Kennedys, not the one who was running for president, but one of the Kennedys was very much involved in making high school dreams come true. I actually went to something that was happening, and he was talking about this foundation that he had, because he said that so many kids have these things that are put in their spirit and hearts and in their path when they're younger, when they have all the time in the world to go after it. But then the parents say, oh, well, you should go to college and you should do this and you should do that. And I just believe there's a magic there. And so many times when you meet somebody who is older and you say, and they're despondent and they're sad and they're all these things, and you say, well, what did you want to do when you were in high school? And maybe there was something there, maybe there was a destiny there, that because the parents came over and said, this is what I want for you. So that's where that came out of. And it was probably me being on my soapbox talking about, but it's also that if it's for you, it will be for you. So that's the other big piece. Barb,
It very
thank
much
you.
resonated with me.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much, Barb. Listen, I think that what I might do, I love these conversations. I may set up another one where we can do like a book talk or a book club once people have gone through. But thank you for being here with me tonight. I love having you. Stay around because I need to bring you back in a little bit later. But now I want to turn over to Courtney Darby, Coco Darby. And Coco Darby and I go way, way back. Back to my early days in Atlanta, Georgia. And I asked her here tonight because of her effervescent spirit and amazing way about her. And I also invited her to read a story. So Courtney, I'll ask you to talk about the story that you read and then ask me anything.
Well, absolutely. And your effervescence is infectious. And so I might actually get it from you. Thank you.
We reflect each other.
Absolutely. Um, Thank you for inviting me to read and to be here. I had the pleasure of reading We Couldn't Then, but We Can Now. And oh my goodness. I love that it was from the perspective of someone who is a Black corporate executive, and but I was taken. I was person. So a little TMI. I've been stuck in 2017, so to speak, and
Interesting.
in that I don't go into grocery stores or any stores anymore. After a few incidents, I'm just like curbside pickup. So why is this corporate executive going inside a store, shopping for her own stuff and not
Very
just picking
late
it up
at
at the
night
curb?
travel. Hello. Okay.
That was my first thought. But I love that she was doing her, but I actually love that she was doing her own grocery shopping. So in my head, as this corporate executive, I'm thinking, she probably makes too much money to be doing this. She probably has an assistant that could be shopping for her. All these things ran through my mind, right? And then I love that she recognizes a voice from the past, like in passing. Um, I'm a huge I'm a huge fan of choice, and I even coach on choice and choosing. And so, though it was two words, it was connection. So those two words, choice or choosing, and then connection, were inside of this story, and it drew me in actually because I'm so connected to them and I use them so frequently. I got this uh, second chance opportunity to be together as a couple um, came from choosing. Can't, it was delayed because of their choosing fidelity with their marriages. Yeah. And then I got that they chose each other in the loss of, yeah. And then the whole connection thing, I was just like, okay, what was it like just being in the room at a conference to be able to get here, fast forward? Of course, I wanted to know how much time passed, all these things running through my mind. But there was, however they connected initially at that, I guess, conference, um, what was it that had that admiration just flow for years? I was really curious as to like whatever that rest of that backstory is. And so um uh that line, uh we keep our lives, our routines, um but we choose each other inside of even her independence and that strong will thing. I so related to all of that. So question, here's the question. Was it a conscious decision for you, or choice? Did you decide or choose to use that word, like the choice and choosing? Um, I was just like, oh, I thought, I'm sitting over here on my own island thinking nobody else uses those words. And I found them throughout the story. Is that conscious of you? Do you see all relationships as I do, as choice? Like every second of the day, every moment you choose to be with that person and not to go outside of a relationship?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Indeed. I think that even when you have a pull, so throughout my stories, I look at um, many different interactions. But Courtney, absolutely every single one of them is usually a woman
Mm,
making a choice.
yeah.
And I think that nothing is out of our hands. We have the power. Um, and even when you see something, and this story was interesting because, again, I can't remember who asked me. I think it was Tangible Truth asked me if it's based on real life. And I think this is one of them. And years and years and years ago, I think we were in Atlanta, actually. My husband and I went to mm, I can't remember what it is, but it was like a coaching training, for couples, that
Mhm.
sort of thing. And I remember the story of the people who were hosting it. And the story is not unlike what I wrote about. I can't remember their story exactly, but it was the point of they met
Mhm.
and they recognized there was a connection
Mhm.
and they let it go.
Mhm.
And years later, and what always struck me was how that man described his now second wife.
Mm.
It was just that she would like it was great how he just described her, but just that idea of we met, but I'm going to choose the person that I'm with right now.
Yeah.
um and that it wasn't, and they both, I think that, not that I chose the word Courtney, but it just definitely that is always within my stories. You're not out of control. You made a choice.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Do you have a second question for me today?
Not particularly. I just I thought that and I'm wordy, so I've taken up plenty of time here. So yeah, I was just wondering your was that like it with intention, those two words, uh, choice and connection. But I
Mhm.
love that, is and bottom line is about timing and trust and communication, of course. But yeah, I loved it. I loved it, love it.
That was one of the stories that is going to be first for the book. So for all my Medium folks and Substack folks, you've never read that one before. That one is completely new. All right, Courtney, stay on the stage. I'm going to invite Barb back on because in the run-up for, and Roz as well, in the run-up for this event, I asked folks to share. Did Roz make it back in, Damar? I mean, June. No. Okay, so we'll just choose. I asked people to share and like my story, and so many people did. So thank you. So these were the ones that I recorded. So I don't want you to show it yet, June. No, 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 no. Okay, so I would love for Barb to choose a number between 1 and 11 to choose the first winner of an autographed book.
Ooh.
Between 1 and 11, any number.
7.
All right, lovely. Make a note of that, June. Okay, Courtney, pick a number between 1 and 11.
11's my number.
11 is your number. That's
Mhm.
excellent. All right. And then I'm going to choose somebody from the chat. Okay, Jackie Verbal. I love you. I love what you're doing for Black Stack, Jackie. I wonder, Jackie, can you choose the third number, any number between 1 and 11? Jackie, please put it in the chat. Between 1 and 11, what number are you going to give us tonight? Is Jackie? Come, Jackie. Can you, Jackie, if you can't put it in. Okay, 9. Okay, do you have the 3 numbers, Damar? I keep calling you Damar because that's sorry, June. All right, Barb, what did you say?
7.
All right, 7, 11, and 9. All right, let's show it. So who are the numbers? Who are the winners? 7, Brittany. Brittany, a fellow writer from Medium. And then 11, Patty Cake. You know who you are, girl. My sister, my in real life sister. Thank you. And then 9. Was it 9? Series. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. Okay, that is phenomenal. Those are our winners. We'll get in touch with you after to get you your signed copies of the book. Okay, thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Barb, for being here and for sharing with us. Okay, so we're winding down our evening together. And I just wanted to share some perhaps parting words, parting thoughts about this event and this time in my life, and just how thankful I am to you, to each and every one of you. So just, I'm getting very emotional at this psychological moment, but wow, what an incredible night. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me in the publication celebration for Scarlet Yearnings, Stories of Love and Desire. Before we wrap up, I'd love your continued support of me on this journey. You can visit me at www.scarletibisjames.com for ongoing updates and exciting content, and to connect with me. As a special bonus, the first 20 folks who purchase an autographed copy of Scarlet Yearnings, whether it's a hardback or paperback, will receive an exclusive sneak peek at the last chapter of my upcoming book. So one of the things that in conversation that I've had with a lot of folks who've read some of the stories or even the whole book of Scarlet Yearnings is that they're left wanting to know more. So you heard it from Courtney too. I think that was, she wanted more of the backstory. The woman, Jasmine Kirkwood, who is narrating my book, she's fabulous, by the way. She also said, boy, I wish I wanted to know more about this character and what they're feeling. So, and then in talking with Patty Cake as well, I thought, I heard, I want to know more. There's too short. We want to know more. And so I am coming out with more. So Scarlet Yearnings, The Other Side of Love and Desire, I'm going to be writing it in the next couple of weeks, taking some time off to do that. And it's really going to feature continuations of the first 11 chapters of the book, either giving the other side, the other character and their backstory, or more about the story, or a continuation of the story. And then I'll be also adding a new set of stories around Candace that I started penning recently. And I'll continue sharing more stories and launching fun merchandise across all platforms. You can follow me on Medium, Substack, YouTube, Instagram, pretty much everywhere. And for more updates and et cetera, just see me there. Let's stay connected. I want to say a huge thank you to my wonderful guests and friends, Roz White, Barb Hughes, and Courtney Wright Fisher. Your presence has made this evening even more special. Thank you. And of course, a heartfelt thank you to my amazing host, June Joseph, the jack of all for DKJ Enterprises. Thank you for making tonight run as smoothly as I will allow it. And then finally, I want to thank all of you for tuning in and celebrating with me today. When you've experienced the book Scarlet Yearnings, I would so appreciate if you could leave an honest review on Goodreads and Amazon. Your feedback means everything to me and will definitely shape some of my future stories. But that's all for tonight. Thank you.